Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Pageant Sit Down. My name's Regine Elena, and we are so excited to have all of you joining us today. If you're new here, hi, hello, welcome. Feel free to subscribe to this channel if you enjoy all things pageantry, the Pageant Sit Down, just some fun stuff. Why not just support this channel? And if you are here because of our guest, hi, welcome. If you have any questions for our guest, feel free to leave them in the live chats, and we will be for sure to answer them, ask them, answer them, the whole shebang. And of course, I am here joined with my amazing co-host, Elizabeth. Hey, Liz.
Hi, Regine. How are you?
I'm well. Happy first day of spring.
Kind of, yes. Doesn't look like it, but yes, happy spring.
Happy spring. I mean, my father-in-law in Newfoundland said there was like 20 inches, 20 centimeters of snow. So don't
I
fact
hope
check
it's
me.
centimeters, not inches, because that's crazy.
There's a lot of snow in Newfoundland, so
right.
It could be worse.
Wow, that is wild. I'm glad we're not there, but yeah.
How's everything?
Anyway. Sorry?
I said, how is everything?
Oh, it's good. You know, just barreling on through the weeks here, but pageant times are coming up soon, which always gets me excited. So I'm looking forward to that. And speaking of some of the pageants that are coming up, one of our dear friends here and our guest today will actually be competing, and we can't wait to hear all about her experience so far. This is Miss Cambridge Regional Canada, Jewel. Welcome, Jewel. How are you?
Good. How are you?
Good, thanks. How have you been?
Oh, busy, you know.
Yeah.
Full-time teacher, full-time master's student, because, you know, I thought, why not do both full-time? So love to be busy.
First and foremost, congratulations. You just got engaged a few months ago.
I love it.
Yeah.
How's wedding planning going?
Same as pageant prep, I feel like.
Yeah,
you know, I have the binder, I have everything going. It's going well. We have a date for early fall, so
this year?
Yeah, then we're quick.
Wow.
Yeah, I know. So I've already told people at school this year I'm Mademoiselle Lindemann, and next year I'm Madame Foreman. So we're getting ready for it. So not only is it my last Miss competition because I'm like at the age where I'm starting to age out, but also I'm getting married. So.
Wow.
That's
okay. So you're a full-time teacher, full-time master's student, full-time bride-to-be planning. I don't know, like you and Maria Girolando, I have no idea how both of you are doing this right now.
True.
Yeah, lots of planners. I have like teacher planner, wedding planner, daily grind planner, like everything. Got to keep my life in order. And just my fiance is very good for me just airing stuff of like, I don't know where to start, and he's like, just start here. You can do it.
Oh my god, that's amazing. That's wild. Like I did it, but it was a pandemic, so to me it was like I was able to get through Galaxy and plan the wedding all in the comfort of my own home. I didn't have to leave. And if I'm being truthfully honest, because I know they're not watching and I don't work there anymore, I was planning my wedding all day, not really working. So I don't know how you do it.
Yep.
Oh my goodness.
Yep.
You make time.
Yeah, you make time for it.
Yep.
The kids are very, like my students are very excited. So I mean, they want to help, but you know, not during the lessons.
Maybe during like indoor recess.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Okay, well, we just talked a whole bunch, and obviously Elizabeth and I are very familiar with you, Jewel, but some of our viewers might not be. So besides being a student, a teacher, and a bride-to-be, can you tell us a little bit about yourself?
Yes. So I'm from Cambridge, Ontario, born and raised. I'm very proudly representing. I am bilingual, and I'm very proud of that heritage because it's how I got a teaching contract in my first year as a teacher. And I really aim to make a difference in the world by showing others they can have a positive impact just by being themselves. Because a lot of times I think we get caught up on social media or on like seeing millionaires and influencers doing like these grandiose things, which are awesome, that we think, oh, just smiling to someone on the street or just saying kind words not going to make a difference. So that's really my purpose with my platform, Grateful Givers, and also in teaching is showing others being you is enough. You don't need to be this, millionaire, have the most followers to make the most profound impact.
Can we just talk a little bit about Grateful Givers, because it's something that it's been a passion project of yours, and I've had the great opportunity of being one of your judges and seeing the pageant grow. What is it like being a pageant director rather than a competitor?
I love being on the other side because I get to apply the things I've kind of learned or seen as a competitor to a pageant to make it more inclusive or more flexible for contestants. And that's the reason I've kept it virtual, because I've gotten that question. It did start during the pandemic, which is why it was virtual, but I've gotten, why not in person? Why not transition? But I think we need those opportunities sometimes as pageant women to just polish our skills without having to worry about traveling or paying, for a hotel room. So it's having that opportunity that's more real life experience, I guess. And also fostering that sisterhood, because now it's been 4 years or 4 pageant rounds that we've run it. And so we have a sisterhood of women. We have contestants that come back. We have judges that come back. And so it's more than just a competition and you're done. Girls are sticking around and helping. So I really love being a part of that and creating it. And like I said, I can see stuff that I, as a contestant, I'm like, I wish it worked like this. And I can implement it to better suit the pageant world.
I think that's something you and Liz have in common, is you both created systems based off of your experience and based on the things that you both like. And funny enough, Jewel and I have known each other all these years, but finally met in person at Liz's pageant.
Yeah, I love it. Yeah, I think that's such a great way to kind of come at building your own pageant, and especially since your pageant, it has such a great message behind it and more meaning behind it than, it's not just an average competition. There's more to it. Now that you're kind of talking about things that you were liking in other systems, and that's kind of what you built the pageant on, what were some of those things and key attributes that you brought into Grateful Givers?
To me, something that drew me into the Miss Ontario Regional Canada system and something I brought into Grateful Givers is the holistic approach to pageant women. Because when you see a lineup of pageant women, each and every one of them is so different. And they might be wearing the same gown, or they might be all in black, but they represent something that's so much larger than that. So what I like about other systems and what I brought into Grateful Givers is giving the women the opportunity to talk about what they're passionate about, to guide them into, really sharing their stories and not feeling like they have to walk a certain way or they have to speak a certain way in order to win. So Grateful Givers doesn't have any sort of fashion component or runway component. It's strictly interview based, essay based. So it's communicating who you are and projecting that to the judges.
That's great. It's such a unique thing for someone to do, a good experience for everyone in pageant. So that's awesome. Go ahead.
No, go ahead.
Oh, I just wanted to know, I love the whole Sudbury clan of pageantry over there. Such a fun group of women. I wanted to know what drew you to the pageant, and what are some things you've been preparing for specifically for Ontario. It's going to be really exciting, I'm sure.
So, fun fact, my first pageant coach ever when I was a wee baby in 2017 was Natalie Carrière, who is one of the executives. And love her. And at the time, as we were preparing for that competition, she was like, you know what? I think you really align with Miss North Ontario, what Miss Ontario was formerly known as. And she was like, your vision, your values, what you stand for really aligns with the system. If only you lived in Northern Ontario. And so I do have family up north, and, I talked to Cheryl about what exactly is the location cutoff? What do we do about this? Because I was really trying there for a while.
That's hilarious.
Yeah, I was really trying to make it happen, and it just never did until last year. They announced, we're actually opening to all of Ontario. And at that point, I had already committed to my competition, and I'm a one competition a year type gal just because I admire those who are 3-4 competitions, because I don't know how they do it. But I had already committed, so I knew okay, not this year, but next. And it works out because, like I said, I'm aging out, and so it's my one shot to go compete. And as soon as I got the information package, despite what I was seeing on social media, already feeling like it was a right click, as soon as I read through it, I was like, this is absolutely what I'm looking for. And something scary, I guess, is they didn't have the dates when I signed up, which I've never done before. I've always been like, I need to know, especially as a teacher, I'm like, I need to know when I'm taking time off. And there was no hesitation. I was just like, nope, I'm in. Let's go.
We'll make it work.
We'll make it work. And then dates came back, and it was actually, it's 2 days after my 25th birthday, which, if you know the Miss Ontario cutoff, it's 24. So I was like, oh no. So it's okay. But made it work. And what really drew me in is they have a fitness component, and fitness has been a big part of my life. If you follow me on social media, you see me at 5 a.m. Like, yes, I actually press play on those workouts every day at 5 a.m. And so the idea of being a part of a fitness competition that's not actually a determining factor in if you win or not, but it's just there to promote a healthy lifestyle, to promote a holistic approach to womanhood, to empowerment. It's so exciting. So I've been challenging myself a little bit on the fitness aspect, doing burpees, which are not my favorite, but like challenging myself, and it's pushed me to think about, okay, well, what can I do when I'm not getting in my own way?
Right. I love that.
Not a burpee first thing in the morning, girl.
Not ever.
First thing, or it doesn't happen.
No.
I feel like that's my problem. It just doesn't happen.
Same.
That's so
okay,
funny.
So you signed up. You find out that it's right after your birthday.
Yeah.
How did you react to that? Because you said cutoff is 24. You're turning 25.
Fall back at this point, I'm sure.
Yeah. So first reaction, because my sister's actually coming down with me for the first time, I was like, yay, like, here's the dates, like, let's book a hotel, and I was ready. And then it was my fiance that was like, sweetheart, what's 2 days before? And I was like, oh, my 25th birthday. And then it kind of slowly started to kick in. Then I was like, oh. So then I was going through like, okay, well, if I can't compete, they do have the older like division, the Ms. Regional Canada. So I'm like, maybe they'll transfer me, like, who knows? And I was going through all of it. But Cheryl was very nice. She was just like, no, like, it's 2 days. Like, you're fine. And I was like, okay. Because I was fully prepared. I was like, all right, we're shifting gears. We're going to Ms. Like, it's okay.
Wow, that's a whole different pageant. That would have been crazy.
Yeah, I was going to say.
Whole different. I was ready. I was like, I'm going to this organization, whether it be this pageant or another.
See, and that's good. Awesome. That really makes you feel solidified that you've found the right spot for you, that you're so confident in the organization rather than the title or the prize package or whatever it is. Like, you want to be their title holder, which I think is great.
Yeah, for sure. Well, like our last guest, Jose, like in his 5 tips, he even said, be yourself. Like, find a system where you can truly be who you are and not have to mold yourself to be somebody else for that system. And that is proof in the pudding right there. You're like, I'll go to the older division, that's fine.
It's just send me, just let me know.
It's all a mindset.
Sign the contract. Exactly. To all those who just tuned in, hello, welcome to the Pageant Sit Down. We are here with Jewel. If you have any questions for Jewel, feel free to leave them in the chats below, and we are more than happy to ask them to her.
I know you do a lot of different things when it comes to coaching and like bettering yourself in different aspects of life. Can you tell us a bit more about what your coaching preparations are going to look like for this upcoming pageant?
They've definitely shifted since I've started in pageantry. I feel like when I started, it was very external, like the walk, the talk, and the wardrobe. Whereas competing for Miss Ontario, I've taken a look back of like, who am I now? Because in my 7 previous years of competing, I've always been the student who's going to be a teacher. And I still find myself, I'm like, oh, I'm the teacher now. And that's, a scary thought sometimes when you have 20 like 7-year-olds looking at you and you're like, where's the teacher to deal with this? Oh no, that's me. Like I have to do that. So it's rediscovering who I am. So it's been a lot more internal work and knowing, okay, well, who am I and what do I stand for? And then I also got engaged in preparation for this. So it's like, okay, well, now it's no longer just about like the name, like Jewel Lindemann. It's beyond that, because like I'm changing my name next year. So who am I? Or this year? Oh.
Seriously.
Okay. But like, who am I beyond like the label I guess I've created? Because I have my brand, I have Grateful Givers, I have the Jewel Louise, but like who is that beyond just the words attached to it? Because those are going to change, and like I've become a full-time teacher now, and stuff has shifted majorly in my life, but who am I still at the core of everything?
Right.
And have you figured that out?
I mean, it's an ongoing
it's like so.
ongoing thing. I feel like every time I'm like, yeah, I got it solidified. Life likes to throw a new lesson my way. I'm a big advocate that the universe is always showing you what you need. So a silly like story of that is I found the perfect gown on Queenly, and I was like, I'm buying it, and then I just kept not purchasing it, and I was like, it's still there, I'll buy it. And then the other day I got a notification, somebody's bid on it, and I was like, oh no, and so I bought it. And I was like, this is mine. Yeah, no, it's mine, it's good. We have it. But I was like, this is me like procrastinating too much. And like, but to go back to the question, I think me at the core is I'm somebody that's optimistic and grateful and just always learning. Like education is such the right field for me, because I'm somebody that I always want to be learning, and I never want to feel like I have to be perfect and I can't make mistakes. And education is where we teach our future generations like life skills, and one of those is knowing that you're going to make mistakes. And so I make mistakes in front of my students all the time and we talk about it of like, okay, well, I made that mistake, like who can help me, and how do we approach mistakes in a kind way, not only kind to others but like kind to yourself? Because I went through a perfectionist era, I still struggle with it, where it's hard to be kind to yourself when you're making mistakes, where when you mess up on stage and you're like, that's why I didn't place. It's showing yourself that same grace that I show my students, that you would show a little kid, showing yourself that same love and compassion when you're making mistakes, because ultimately they're teaching you a lesson that you need to learn.
100%. I love that. You're definitely in the right field.
Thank you.
Yeah. No, it's so good. And speaking of kind of like professional aspects of it, I always am curious how the not older, but like professional aged women in pageantry like balance being pageant queens and then also being in the workplace. Because I never thought about that, but now I'm kind of like stepping into that aspect of my life too, and I'm like, oh, like, are people gonna know that I do pageants? Does that sound like kind of childlike, or how are they gonna perceive this? I'm curious, since you work with kids, is that something that you would share with them, or is that something you kind of try and keep separate?
So when I first started, it was very like you said, like, oh, what are people gonna think? And even I was worried about taking the time off for the competition.
Right.
And so the first person I told was my principal, and she was ecstatic. She was like, no way, you have to tell the students, like they're gonna be so excited. And so how it actually came up is I had a picture on the background of my laptop of me at Miss Canada last year. And one of the kids was like, you're a queen. Look at you. You're a queen. And I was like, well, no, but thank you. And it was kind of like a natural way. And so I don't tell them the extent of like everything that I do, but they do know I compete in pageants. And when they ask me like, well, what's that? I usually phrase it as like, it's my way of like being my best self. Like you dance and you go and you learn stuff. And that's how I show up as my best self. But they're always, they're kids, so in their mind I sleep at school, I live at school, so they're like, what do you mean? You go somewhere else? Like,
time for this.
Time you teach us, like.
Oh, wow. No, that's fun though. I mean, it's a great question, Liz, because when I started looking for work and the great joys of Googling yourself is right there. Like, oh no. So obviously, like, we've seen. So now I'm grateful that I have changed my last name, but it is not my stage name anymore. So you can't find me.
Digital footprint.
No, it's God now. No, but that's great. And it is hard because, like, I know being a teacher, you don't stop working. You bring the work home. You're constantly doing things. How, and I know we asked you briefly, but like, how do you balance being a full-time teacher, being a full-time student, and then full-time doing everything else that you enjoy doing, pageant aside?
I am very strict with myself of work stays at work. And so stuff like if I like report cards, those will bleed into like my personal time, but that's like once every 3-4 months. When it comes to grading or lesson planning, stuff like that, that I know I have time at school, I'm very strict of like, it stays at school. And so that comes back to my planners of like going through it, and on this planning time, I'm going to work on this and on this, and prioritizing the tasks at school. So for me, grading and lesson planning, making sure the kids feel safe and welcome in the class is number one. My walls being all pretty and the bulletin boards is not my top priority. So sometimes stuff is up for months and I'm like, it's time to change that, but we'll
not
get
Christmas anymore.
No, we still have garlands up actually.
It's fine. It's fine.
So I'm pretty strict on myself in that way, and it's work. I'm glad that I was strict in the beginning because now it's a habit, and I've kind of made that a routine that I know, okay, this doesn't come home. This is going to stay there. And so it's not a concern about doing it. Right. The one thing I have to get better at is not checking emails, because I'm like, oh, I got to do that. And then with regards to like taking time to myself and my master's is making time for it all. So knowing I take 4 classes. So I have 1 night a week per class. And then it's done in that night. And so that helps me kind of visualize it, because I'm very like, I need to see it, pen and paper, to know it's going to get done. If I don't write it out, I'm like, there's not enough time in the world. No way it's happening.
Right.
Wow. Well, thank you for spending some time with us today.
Having some time, that's amazing.
Right.
Yeah, that sounds super busy, but that's amazing. I know a lot of your interviews before were kind of in your busy lifestyle was education and all that. You're still doing that, but now what do you think your interviews are going to be focused on now that you actually have obtained the career that you've been talking about? Are you going to is that going to be a focus of your interview now, or are you shifting it more to something else?
Definitely platform is still like number one topic, but I think the realization of my career ambitions is going to be more of a focus, because in the past it's always been, well, I hope to be a teacher and this is my plan, and now it's like, no, I did it, like I got a contract and everything. So it's focusing on that, because I think more people need to hear like the busy work and those busy times of your life, it's worth it. Like when you know in your heart that you want to be a teacher, you want to be a doctor, those times when you're like so close to giving up because you're like, is it really worth it? Do I need to pass this exam? It's worth it at the end. And I don't mean like the people that are like, I hate everything that I do, because that might be your call to like change degrees and you can always do. But when you're like, I know this is the right path for me, but this is a tough moment, those tough moments will be worth it. And that's the same in teaching. Like they say, a ridiculously high percentage of teachers leave within the first 5 years, because it's not all the fun stuff that you see on Instagram of like having fun with students. Like there are some challenging moments, and I think it's going back to, why are you a teacher? And one of my professors in Teachers College said, if you're becoming a teacher for the sake of, oh, I just like kids, like that's not a strong enough reason, because you're not always gonna like the kids. And I was like, well, that's harsh, but it's true. Like I love them with all my heart, but there's some days that I'm like, I just need 5 minutes of silence, please.
No, 100%. I'm married to a teacher, so I totally get it. I get it.
Yeah.
But like growing up, I was like, I want to be a teacher when I grew up. No, just kidding. Thomas is in the chat, aka the 1411 experiment. He says konnichiwa and a bunch of other words in Japanese that I don't understand. Hi Thomas, thanks for watching. So Thomas is probably coming from Scott's stream or watching Scott play video games, but Thomas also streams, so if anyone is interested, go subscribe to his channel. Just a little plug-in. Thanks for watching, Thomas. Make sure you give this video a thumbs up before you leave. Going back to you, Jewel. So the last time you were on the Pageant Sit Down, you were getting ready for Miss Canada, and I know that is a system that you put a lot of heart a passion into. Now you're going into Miss Ontario, Regional Ontario. What has your preparation been like and mindset been switching from one system to this one?
They're very different.
Very different, yeah. And it's very strange, honestly, to like go for 3 consecutive years to one system, to be like 180 to a different system, and like switching from national to provincial. Like I still catch myself when I'm typing captions like, join me on the internet or on the national stage. I'm like, nope, provincial. It's fine. I think the preparation has shifted a lot in like rediscovering it and like that excitement of pageantry, because when you like, we all remember our first pageant of like the excitement and not knowing how it's gonna go and like, what does this mean? And I've found that again with Miss Ontario, because it's brand new and it is their second year as like a full Ontario pageant, so it's still, you know, new and evolving. Whereas I kind of got in a routine with Miss Canada because it was 3 years. I knew what worked and I knew what I had to do, and it was replicating it. And obviously like changing and tweaking and learning from my mistakes, but it was very routine. It was almost like I think of competitive dancers, like they have the same routine, and yes, they'll tweak it and they'll change it based on feedback, but it's the same. And that's what I felt like my prep was. It was the same routine that I was tweaking slightly and adjusting. Whereas now it's like I get to know, like I get to learn a whole new dance, and I get to rediscover like who I am and how to present that in a different way, and like consider other things, because like there's different aspects. Like we have a community speech where we get to talk about our hometown. So how am I going to present Cambridge? That's something that I didn't have the opportunity to do before. So it's learning new things and kind of growing. Like I think of it of Miss Canada was like my cocoon phase of like I was growing, and now I can spread into a butterfly.
I love that.
And you've definitely found a great system to do that. So
yeah.
That's exciting.
Yeah. Correct me if I'm wrong. Is Miss Ontario more like there's more stage focus, like, or am I wrong? I feel like Miss Canada, is it personality pageant? That's how they describe it. Yeah.
So Miss Ontario is still like very focused. There's scholastic achievement that they test, fitness, like there's still a lot off stage, but something that like my glamorous side likes, their stage is like a big stage, and each woman gets like their moment on stage, whereas Miss Canada is like 4x4. By the end it was 4x4.
Really?
So it was, that was different too for my prep, is like I was thinking of how to model with others and how to showcase my style with others, and being mindful, like if I have something on my dress, I'm not going to whip like another contestant.
Right.
Whereas now I'm like, I get to like take up a whole stage instead of just like a T runway. So that's really exciting. So yeah, there is more of like a glamorous stage presence, I guess.
Gotcha. That's exciting. That'll be so much fun.
Very exciting. What's exciting is the segment on our show, which you are familiar with, and you being a teacher, I'm sure you give great advice, and having all these years of experience in pageantry, you are probably very well fit for this segment, which is 5 tips from a beauty queen. So Jewel, let's put a twist to it, because you've already given us your 5 tips many episodes ago. So what would your tips be if there was one of your students, for example, wanting to try out pageantry? What would they be?
Number 1, just do it. Like, not to steal Nike's slogan or anything, but so many, like almost every pageant woman I've talked to talks about like time before their first competition that they didn't sign up, and they were hesitant. They were worried about what other people would think. And not one of those women I've spoken to has been like, oh, I wish I never signed up for that first competition. They've always wanted to go back. They've always learned something. So it's just do it. You're going to be scared. You're going to feel like you don't know what you're doing. But ultimately, like, that's part of the excitement. That's part of the learning. And I wish I could go back to like 17-year-old Jewel who was walking into her first competition, because in all those pictures, you can see the wonder in my eyes. Like, I'm like, oh my goodness, I can't believe it. So just do it. Invest in coaching. I feel like there's a divide on this. So people are like, for personality pageants, you shouldn't need like a coach to tell you how to be yourself. But what I think a coach brings you is so much more than like how to act, how to walk. It's that guidance and that support, because oftentimes you're not coming from a community that might know a lot about pageants. Like for me, I'm the only one in my like immediate community that does pageants. And so nobody knew what I was going through at competitions. Like I remember after my first competition, I called my mom and I was crying and she was like, "Are you sad?" And I'm like, "No, I'm just like so overwhelmed with emotions." And she was like, "Well, I don't understand. Why are you overwhelmed?" So invest in that coach, because not only are they going to guide you, they're going to be that ally that gets what you're going through and gets those moments of like just sheer exhaustion and overwhelm. So invest in that for sure. Number 3 is make friends. Like make those connections, and they don't have to be like, you don't have to be best friends with everyone. I think about my sorority, what we always said was, you're not best friends with everyone, but you are sisters. And that's the way I approach pageantry, is we are all connected by similar ambitions, similar purposes in life. And so you're friends, you're connecting, you're marketing. No, you don't have to be the best friend of everyone and everyone has to like adore you. But when you are going in with that mentality that we are all connected by something larger than ourselves, that's when you make those connections. And that's when you walk away feeling like a winner, because it's not isolating. It's not like it's a crown or nothing. You know that you have achieved your purpose and you are backed by other women who are also rooting for you, who are cheering you on. Number 4, definitely have a platform. And like I say that and people are like, what's a platform? Like to step on? Have something that you care about, and don't be afraid of like doing something different. When I started Grateful Givers, it was an online like Instagram series about volunteering. And I remember thinking like, who cares? Like who cares about volunteering? It's just for me. And so be selfish. Choose something that you care about, because you never know who needs to hear that story. You never know who's sitting back going like, oh, I wish I had heard that when I was 10 years old. I wish somebody had given me that advice. So choose a platform that like selfishly you can talk about for hours on end, because then it'll never feel like work. And number 5, have fun. If you're not having fun, then you're no longer in the right system, or you're no longer like doing something that brings life back into you. And that was the point I kind of reached in the past year. It was exhaustion and repetition. It was going back and doing the same things. And I realized like, there's no more fun in this. And so I rediscovered it with Miss Ontario. It was like, oh, this is fun. Like I like trying on my heels. I like practicing. I like thinking about the different stage patterns. It's no longer just do because I have to. It's fun. So I think those would be my 5 tips to somebody, one of my students, for instance, that was thinking about trying out pageants.
Those are great tips for anyone, really. I just wanted to put it, but I'm like, no, these are great. These are great tips.
Yep. I particularly like the platform one. I think that's super strong. Like, I think people have it in their head that it needs to be a charitable thing or a really sad thing or something like that. And to some people, that is the platform that makes sense with them and connect really well with them. And that's amazing. 100% props to them. But I think some people are fearful to do something a little bit more fun of a platform or raising awareness or something that's just a little bit more out there. But it will ultimately help them because it's easier to talk about. You have it makes you stand out. It's more unique. It's something that like when I think of Jewel, I think of Grateful Givers. I know her platform, you know, like it's a branding thing as well. So I really like that point.
Yeah. And I think you can tell the women in pageantry whose platform like lights them up versus the ones that are doing it because they've been told by someone like that's the better platform. Because the way that you speak just naturally, like you'll be excited. You're like, yes, I want to talk about this. Thank you for asking.
Exactly. That's very true. I mean, even going to like the younger, like the junior division, there's a lot of pressure on them to be like, I want a platform too. But then it's, what are the moms telling you should be your platform? So as a coach, it's more so, what are you passionate about? You like to dance? Okay, let's talk a dance. What can we do with dance to change the world? Or I love the moms, I love the pageant parents, but when the platform of the child becomes the parents' desires and not theirs, like you said, it gets harder for them to talk about it. It literally just becomes a memorization speech.
Absolutely.
So, I love that you mentioned that. I thought you were going to say something. Sorry.
No, it's all good. Yeah, I mean, I've always been curious, like, how did you start Grateful Givers? I know it started off as more of like a social media thing and has definitely evolved. But what was kind of like the root of building this?
So it goes way back to my grandmother, who passed when I was 7. So many. I did the math for my 7-year-old students the other day. I won't do it again because they were like, "Wow, you're old." Like, oh, thanks, thanks so much.
Thank you.
But my grandmother was known in her community for being there, and I don't remember her ever being like volunteering all the time or like super busy. Like, she always had time for us, and yet she was known, and it is known to this day, as a pillar in the community. So she was helping out at our French community center before there even was a building. Like, she helped build the building. Like, her name is in the concrete there. And she was known. And at her funeral, I remember we showed up like with the family, as the family does, late, and there were people standing outside of the church because there was not any more room in the church. And so that, to me, like, as a 7-year-old, I was like, holy moly, like, this is just her being herself. Her showing up and doing something she cares about, and look how many lives she touched. And I don't know if she ever knew how many lives she actually touched, but that was kind of what sparked it. And then, you know, I lost sight of it, as I feel like we all do as kids. We kind of lose sight of that wonder and that amazement we have. And I remember watching a Because I'm a Girl commercial, and it was like, you can make a difference because you're a girl, you can do this. And I just said to my mom, like, well, no. Like, I'm me. What do you mean? Like, I'm the most average girl ever. Like, what do you mean? And that was the mentality I had. And it took kind of seeing that a lot of people get stuck in that routine of thinking that they're average, they're the norm. So, like, why would it be me? It takes us breaking out of that idea to create the extraordinary, because if everyone believes they're the norm, people aren't going to find cures for disease. People aren't going to, you know, discover new elements. Like, this, you need to break that norm. And so in university, I started like kind of searching, I guess, for like what I wanted to do in volunteering. I'd been volunteering at that point since I was 12, and I knew, like, okay, this is in my blood. Like, it's literally in my blood. And so I was volunteering, and I was noticing, like, it's not giving the most time, it's giving the most quality time. So knowing what I care about and giving my time to that. And I noticed, like, that's kind of what people do. They volunteer until they burn out, and then they're done. They can't continue because of their health. So it's teaching people, like, you can make a difference by being that person that just cares really passionately about one thing, or multiple things if you're a multifaceted, multi-passionate person. But it's not about losing yourself and giving so much about yourself. And I know we hear this quote so much, but like, you can't pour from an empty glass. And so it's still keeping that for yourself. And that's really what started Grateful Givers, is this idea of we can be filling other people's glasses while we're also filling our own. So it's that personal development, taking care of yourself, prioritizing yourself, while you're also making a difference in the lives of others. Because ultimately, even if you're only like making a change in your own life, it has a ripple effect on those around you.
I love that. And I'm sure your grandma is very proud that you've continued her legacy in your own way. So as we talked about, like you mentioned, Grateful Givers, the pageant came during the pandemic.
Yes.
Being a pageant director, was that something that you always wanted to dabble into, or is this just something that came up?
I honestly was like, never will I do it. Like, I don't know how these women do it, or these men. Like, I don't know how. And I, like, the pandemic bored me, because I'm a busy, like, you obviously I'm a busy person. I like to be go. And so being stuck at home, I was like, no, this hurts my soul. Like, I need to find new stuff. And so I decided to do it as a fundraiser. It's a charity pageant. And I fell in love with it because I like we talked about, having that control and making those positive experiences in the lives of pageantry. So, you know, I know there are negative experiences out there. So I know if I can create just a handful of positive ones, then I'm making a positive impact in the world of pageantry.
I love that. And I love that you were able to take your passion and take your platform and make something so great out of it. The fact that it is a charity pageant as well, you're adding that extra layer to it.
For sure.
Where do you see Grateful Givers as a pageant going or growing?
I would love to take it international. My sisterhood is officially international now. And I've always kept the pageant local to Canada just because it was what I knew and it was my comfort. And the big thing I've been on this year is like, okay, well, what does it look like if I'm not in my comfort zone? Because like I said, I get stuck in routines and I need to kind of break out of them. So I'd love to take the Grateful Givers pageant virtual. And I would also love to connect it to like other pageants. So providing a scholarship for women to then take it to go to another competition that aligns with their vision. And so that's something I'm toying with because I know what I think is the best pageant ever might not be the right fit for other contestants. So like Miss Ontario, I'm like, it's great, it's fantastic. But then I'm also like, well, if I have a girl in Manitoba, like, she can't compete in Miss Ontario. Right. So I would love to build up that scholarship so then I can give that gift back to the contestants of like, here, go compete, because I think financial restraints are a big block for pageant women.
Yeah, for sure.
I mean, Canadian National Miss is a great pageant system.
It is.
Regine, always making me uncomfortable.
Well, I mean, it is a great system, but I also think that's great, Jewel, that you have this vision of growing it. And like you said, I know a lot of girls that I work with as a coach, they struggle financially to do another pageant, and they're always hemming and hawing, being like, do I do this, or do I save for a trip, or do I pay for my education, or do I have dinner tomorrow? So,
seriously, like, and I feel like everything is getting so expensive recently. I just recently sat down with another pageant director friend of mine, and we were talking about like the differences from the different countries and all that, and expenses just to like run a pageant, whether it's virtual or in person. There's costs no matter what. And it's like very different in Canada. Like, as we've seen, inflation has gone crazy, but like it's hit events and chair and everything, so it makes it difficult. So I understand people needing some extra assistance when competing. So I think that's great that you're thinking about that and offering that as an option for people.
Potentially.
That's the goal.
Potentially. Right, like even that as a thought process is great, that we're trying to work towards something like that, and maybe it will encourage other people to do that, because it would be great to have more than one source of that. So that'd be awesome.
But I love that it's very unifying, because I know in some pageant systems it gets very, no, you can't do this, or no, like it's like to me what is insane is like the pageant community, the sisterhood in Canada or in Ontario in itself is very small compared to like the dance and the cheer and the footballs and like all of that. And like, I know, Liz, like you are friends with other directors, and I love that. I love being able to see pageant directors getting along and not seeing each other as competition.
It's not a war.
Yeah.
No,
it's very helpful, actually, if you think about it, to share experiences that no one else really can relate to. And it's good to just build that community. I've always said that it's good to embrace everyone in any pageant business in the whole industry, because the more they succeed, the industry succeeds altogether. So it's important.
Not everyone sees it that way, but hopefully in the future we all
fingers crossed the changes. But
I'm just saying, and like it's hopefully, because pageantry is changing, like the women who compete in pageants are different, the systems are changing, the acceptance of everyone is there. So hopefully the directors see it one day. I have two amazing pageant directors here with me. That normally wouldn't happen, and I'm so grateful for it.
Yes.
So, Jewel, I know you have a lot going on. You have the wedding coming up, school, all these fun things. How are you? Let's just do a check-in right now. How are you?
I'm good. I mean, I'm tired some days. I mean, like, who isn't? I'm good. I feel, honestly, like this past year I felt the most myself. Like, I wake up every day and I'm like, I'm excited to go, and I forget that like my full-time job is being a teacher, because I'm like, oh, like that's actually my job. Like, it's work, don't get me wrong, it is work, but I forget that like that's actually what I get to do every day. So yes, it's busy. And yes, I do take time for myself and I do sleep, I promise. People don't believe me on that, but I'm good. I'm doing good.
Good. That is very good.
Awesome. And your pageant is coming up very quickly. What are you doing to prepare for it? What can we, as your followers on social media and your friends, what can we expect? Spill the tea.
Well, right now my focus is on a square fundraiser. So it's a grid of 100 and I'm fundraising funds to get to Sudbury. Like we just chatted about, finances. So it's $5 a square and people can win up to $100 while supporting the cost. And then it actually goes towards, making an ad page and having community members be able to share their good luck wishes in the program book. So I'm very excited about that because that's something new that I get to share with my community and kind of take them with me to the competition. So that's the big thing that I'm doing right now. And I'm also growing my sisterhood because I think it's so important to stay rooted in your platform that is yours, so that win or lose, you have something. You are not lost to the system. And I've made that mistake of every plan I've made is contingent on if I win the crown, I'll do this, and when I win. And then when you don't win, you're like, oh, now what? Now what do I do? I've given everything. And so I'm growing my sisterhood. I started out the year with 10 gals, 10 amazing gals. And I was like, nope, we're going to 100 this year. And as of today, I'm at 75. So we're going there. We're going. So if there's 25 viewers that want to join, find me on Instagram at the Jo Louise, and you can join.
I love that.
Awesome. So if people wanted to buy a ticket or a square, how can they do that?
So if you message me on Instagram or if you have me on Facebook, some people might just message me and then you can choose your lucky number if it's still available. And then the draw will take place whenever they're all sold out, this weekend or next, depending on how quickly they sell. And then the winning number will get $100, which will be really, really fun and good to give back.
For
It'll
sure.
be a great Easter gift.
Yeah, it would be.
Just saying, the Easter Bunny is being nice this year.
The Julie Easter Bunny.
Yeah, exactly. That's awesome. Okay, and if people wanted to join your sisterhood, what is that all about? Tell us. You've mentioned it a few times.
Yeah, so it started as, my teacher brain, an educational community where I had monthly workshops because that's my bread and pudding. I'm like, yes, teaching. And it has evolved into much more of a lifestyle. It's a way of being. And so the queens that are in it are women that are here to change the world. And they're here to also change themselves. And it's not that they don't love themselves and they want to fix this. It's that they love themselves so wholeheartedly that they're like, I know I can be my best. So it's 75 international women. I'm just going to add that in. And we have monthly workshops. We have, sisterhood bonding events. We have a celebration event next Friday to celebrate the fact we're 3/4 of the way to the yearly goal. We have collaboration. So it not only teaches them how to use and harness their skills to make a difference, but it also allows them to actually put that in action. So teaching within the sisterhood, collaborating, posting, building and networking with women across the world. So it's really, like I said, it's more of a lifestyle at this point than just, it's teaching or it's a community group. It's a way of being. And that's why it's a Gratitude Queen sisterhood, because it's being your Gratitude Queen self.
Love that. We love that for you. Well, before we wrap things up, because we know you're very busy and we don't want to take up too much of your time, do you have anything else that we can look forward to? Is there any social medias that we can follow? Plug them in. Well, plug the pageant in, all of it.
All of it. So my personal, I say my personal, I don't even use my personal Instagram at this point. My pageant Instagram is at @the_Jo Louise. And if you want to follow Miss Ontario, it's at Miss Ontario Regional Canada. It's a mouthful, but do it. I will be sharing a lot of behind the scenes preparation, and I also share a lot of teacher stuff. So if you just really like cute teacher stuff, like my students' art projects, give me a follow, because I do share those quite a bit. And then on Facebook. It's also at the Jewel Louise, and you can join the Gratitude Queen Sisterhood if you're looking for more of that community, more of that mentorship, and the ability to collaborate. That's the perfect space for that.
And lastly, it is because you are so busy, and I don't know if you can add anything else throughout this 2024 year, is Grateful Givers happening this year?
It is. So the summit.
Wow.
Yeah.
Good for you.
I have it planned. Let me tell you, my end of the year, like my last quarter is already planned because I'm like, we have a wedding. We have the annual summit that's in October. We have Miss Teen Grateful Givers, which is also in October, but might be moved to November because like I need to be real with myself.
Right.
And then Miss Grateful Givers sign up will be in December, and then it will be crowned in January. So it will be happening.
Perfect.
Timelines might be shifted because I'm getting married, but I sometimes am my own worst enemy because I'm like, it's fine. It won't be that busy. It's how busy could I be getting married? Yeah.
Oh, good for you though.
Awesome.
I'm excited to see that come to fruition there.
Oh yes, thank you. Yeah, that will also be on my social media as wedding content as we get the dress built. Not that I'll post the dress because my fiance is very active on my social media, so we're not we're not doing that. I even posted like one of the dresses I tried on. He was like, "Is this the dress?" And I was like, "It most definitely is not the dress. Like, why would I?"
Was that hard for you? Because I know we spoke to Maria about this. Was this hard for you? You're both in your bridal era.
I know.
Was that difficult for you trying on wedding dresses? That going from pageant dress to wedding dress?
Yeah, it wasn't like difficult in the sense of like, oh, it was impossible, but it was weird to try on like something that wasn't my typical style because I feel like
they're different.
Yeah, they're very different. And so
Yeah,
I had a very supportive group with me because I tried on one gown and I was like, this is it. And my sister was like, that's a pageant gown. Go get changed. And I was like,
my mom did that to me.
Yeah. I was like, but it's shiny and it's like it has trumpet sleeves. And she's like, it's pageant. Go put it away.
Dang it.
Oh,
Yeah,
so Jewel is going the opposite.
I am.
pageant.
Yeah.
Something different.
It is very different.
Exciting.
Yeah.
But we look forward to seeing that.
Yes, you will.
Mhm.
After the wedding. Although I'm
course.
so bad. I'm like, I want to show. I'm like the person
No,
I want to show
save
the
it.
most. The
No,
person
no.
I want to show the most, I'm like, I can't show him.
Right.
I just can't. I'm like, well, that's unfortunate.
Well, when I went and picked up my dress, my husband came with me and I'm like, you don't I had to bring my dress back to the shop, and I was like, don't look at the bag, don't touch the bag, because then you'll get an
Top for you.
idea.
Yeah. No,
What about
I'm
a big
keeping it-
bag?
It was a big bag.
Big dress.
Yeah.
It
I
was.
love it. Wow.
Anyway, so Jewel,
Mhm.
thank you again so much for joining us today. So again, follow her on social media. Also follow the Grateful Givers. I will put all the links in the description. So if you're watching this after our live, they should all be there. Elizabeth, where can people find you?
You guys can follow me on my pageant account at Elizabeth Murnock Pageantry. I also just rebooted my Elizabeth Murnock Artistry page. So I'm now taking clients once again. I took a little bit of a break because life got real crazy there for a minute. But my debut will be back at Canada United World in London. So I'm looking forward to that. So let me know if you want a spot. We're already down to 2 spots left, so let me know. And we also mentioned Canadian National Miss, so might as well just plug it in here. Follow us on Canadian National Miss Pageant on Instagram, and then follow us on Facebook as well. How about you, Regina? What's going on with you?
Oh boy. You all can first off follow the Pageant Sit Down. We are on Instagram and Facebook at Pageant Sit Down. If you haven't already subscribed to this channel, we do go live once a month now. Maybe we'll get up to more as pageant season ramps up. But make sure you follow us on social media so that you know when our amazing guests are coming in and who they are. You can also follow me on Instagram and TikTok at It's Regine Elena. And if you are looking for some pageant coaching, because pageant season is here in full throttle, you can follow me at pageantcoaching.regineelena. Link in my bio on Instagram has all of my availability.
Perfect.
So check it out. Jewel, once again, thank you so much for spending your evening with us. I know life is crazy right now, but we are rooting for you. We are on your side, and best of luck with literally everything that you're doing.
Yes, seriously.
Thank you. It will all get done somehow. That's it.
Yes.
I can't wait to see your planner at the end of the year.
It's all scribbles.
It's a lot of crossing and arrows, and it all gets done.
I love it.
Good for you.
Well,
All
once
right.
again, everyone, thank you so much for watching us. Jewel, thank you for joining us. And
Thank you.
we can't wait to see you with your new crown and your new wedding band the next time we see you.
Yeah, another ring added.
Mhm.
Yep.
There you go. Well, until next time, everyone, we'll see ya. Bye.
Bye.